We could not believe that they were closing 3 major urban outlets.
It's important. I think there's people that don't completely understand how journalism works.
They wanted everything. They wanted a paperback. They wanted information about city halls, school boards, events, businesses, the arts, and sports. They want it all.
And thank you for the work that you're doing and the hours that you're putting into producing this community news. I know you don't do it for the paycheck.
To be clear, we're all volunteer. My mission is to be fair, accurate, and contemporaneous with my reporting. I want to make sure that I am truthful, and I want to make sure as many voices as I can be told in a story, because it's not just one person telling the story.
Wow, this is kind of like journalism's superhero story. Today on the podcast, we are talking about journalism. We are talking about a passion that is close to my heart, something that, well, I think some don't realize the value it has. And it's only when they don't have it or won't have it that they will realize, and hopefully this does not happen. My next guest is ensuring it won't in several communities, how valuable community journalism and news is. So today I'd like to welcome to the podcast Janice Cleugh. She is a veteran journalist, co-founder, editor, and reporter at a new publication called, and correct me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Freshet.
Freshet News, you did it right.
Great. Welcome to the podcast, Janice.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I was saying to Janice before we started recording that I was just so impressed when I saw what you and your colleagues had done. So, Janice, you are former reporter at the Tri-City News for many, many years, and the Burnaby Now, New West newspaper, and Tri-Cities were going to be without community news. So those papers shut down. And you came together and did something pretty impressive. So you have 35 years of experience in the journalism field, and you were the longest serving reporter at the Tri-City News before Glacier Media closed the publication. And then you and 3 other journalists came together and decided to do something about it. So can you just tell me kind of how this all came about and why and how you made the decision to start this publication, this newspaper?
Sure, that we would be closing along with the Tri-City News. It was also, like you said, the Burnaby Now and the New Westminster Record. The reporters were all longtime veteran reporters. We live, we work, we play in our communities, we raise our families here, we pay taxes. We're very invested in our communities. We could not believe that they were closing 3 major urban outlets in the middle of a federal election. So come April 2025, candidates had nowhere to go. The readers were just left wondering who to vote for because there was no information. And we couldn't report because we had lost our jobs. It wasn't sitting well with us. We wanted to do something. Our entire careers have been public service. We feel that we are documenting local journalism, local history. When you look back at local history, you look at the newspapers, you go to the archives, you look at our newspapers, and you read what happened. You can see the changes that happened in our community. We needed that to make sure it continued and told in quality manner, told in a professional manner. We're all trained, we're all accredited, and we wanted to make sure that that continued. So we decided to join a co-op organizer who led us through the initial steps. And come October, we had a website out and a newsletter. And we published our first newspaper, December 19th. Our second one came out on January 22nd. And yesterday, we came out with our third newspaper. And it is getting a lot of good response. A lot of people want the newspaper back. And we have spent the last summer reaching out to the community. What do you want? What do you want to see? They wanted everything. They wanted a paperback. They wanted information about city halls, school boards, events, businesses, the arts, and sports. They want it all. And they want to see, they really missed our hometown papers. I think that's what really came through. And we had a big fundraiser. We got some money, and we're getting money. We've just recently received money for the local journalism initiative. So that will help. So to be honest, scaling up has been quite a learning curve.
Yes. Well, you've essentially become, not only doing the job, you're doing not only the job of the journalist, but now you're doing the being the publisher, the business owner, so to speak. It's a lot. And, journalists have been receiving pink slips for the last several years, and it's been devastating to watch.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen this kind of action taken uh, in Canada. And it was just incredibly impressive to see. What gave you for the confidence to know that this is going to work? Was it the feedback from the community, that kind of the community's voice?
Indeed, it was. Yeah. They wanted us to continue telling those stories. And we had, studied examples in Quebec. The workers took over after the corporate media, abandoned the communities. Also check news here in Victoria, a different scenario where the workers took over. We're creating our own path here. We've got a nonprofit. It's a cooperative. It's community service cooperative. And we have to figure out a lot of things. And we are also union supported. So we have a union who has our back, as they did at the Tri-City News, Burnaby Now and Newsminster Record. And they've continued out the relationship with us as well because they know the value of local journalism.
Wow, amazing. I'm sure the community, like you say, is thrilled, and the fact that you really went out and wanted to hear from them about what they wanted, I'm sure means a lot to them. But before we discuss a little bit more about the publication, I wanted to get to know you as a journalist a little bit more, your journey into journalism. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why journalism and what drove you to this career path?
I love to write. I love to read. I love anything to do with learning. I love our local community. I couldn't even imagine growing up in our community without a hometown newspaper. So that was definitely a reason for, all of us wanted to make sure that was brought back because we grew up in communities where we read our local newspaper. I went to UVic. I got a degree in languages. I traveled and worked around the world in journalism, and I got my degree in journalism in England. In Britain, they have a program called the National Council Training for Journalists. It's a standardized program that journalists go through post-secondary school and they take a national exam. They don't have that here in Canada.
Okay.
So basically, you're treated as a trade. You go through an apprenticeship, and then you write a national exam, and then one's accredited. So I took that, and then I came back to Canada. I worked in Ontario for a little bit, and then back home to British Columbia.
Excellent. Very interesting. Okay. I've said before many times on the podcast, I studied journalism. My undergrad is in journalism, but I didn't practice. I found it difficult to be balanced. I'm quite sensitive. I didn't want to write something negative about anyone. That doesn't make a good journalist. Not that you have to write negatively, but you have to be balanced and write factually, and didn't work for me. So I transitioned, but I have such a great deal of respect for what you do. So Freshet News serves a huge community. So this is Burnaby, New Westminster, and the Tri-Cities. You've mentioned that the feedback from the community has been incredibly positive. So how often do you plan to release the print publication of the paper?
Right now we're monthly.
Okay.
So our next edition is out March 26th, and then we start every other week. The goal is obviously to get back to a weekly edition in our three communities. Perhaps the next stage after that will be to have our own individual newspapers back again. So the Tri-Cities Freshet, the New Westminster Freshet, the Burnaby Freshet, and we're scaling up. We want to grow our team. There's enough content in these communities right outside of Vancouver to sustain three very strong newspapers. And the market is responding. We've got lots of advertising in this edition, and we're quite happy to learn about other aspects of our business, not just editorial. We're now distributors. We're still doing our own production team. So me and Mario Bartel, we lay out the newspaper ourselves. Everything is in-house and is sales. We are learning how to, distribute rate cards and talk to advertisers. I mean, it is all aspects of this business that we are learning. On top of that, we have to learn about being a nonprofit. So we have board meetings, and everything has to be done, with consent. So We are learning how to be founders and business people, and we're wearing many hats. Each of us has about 8 or 9 titles, not just founder, publisher, reporter, paginator, editor. It just goes on and on. I'm also board treasurer. I do accounts payable.
Are you sleeping?
And no, not much. It is a lot. It is a lot. I mean, every day is 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, kudos. I mean, I know the amount of work that goes into a journalist's day, just as a journalist, to cover such a large, space, communities. So each of you are reporting on your own community, or are you all kind of covering the various 3 communities?
We're covering the same communities that we had when we worked at the Tri-City News, Burnaby Now, and Newsminster Record. I'm also covering regional arts, which includes Massey Theatre, Anvil Theatre, Shadbolt Centre, and Mario Bartel is doing regional sports. Other than that, we're back in our same roles.
Okay. So you just, you created your job back again.
We did, yeah. We're Mavericks.
Wow. This is kind of like a journalism superhero story.
We hope so.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it really is. I think it also is a great indication of people's journalism is dead, or, community news is dead. Well, clearly not. People want to see it. And this is an example as to what I alluded to at the beginning of the episode, I think, is when you lose something, you really realize, wow, wait a minute, I need that. I live in Surrey, for example. And every day I'm reading the local newspaper, the Surrey Now, and now the Surrey Citizen as well. But there are things that are hyper local that are incredibly important to me as a resident that are not covered by larger media. It's impossible for them. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't do it. So the value in community news, and I say that to my clients as a PR professional all the time, is the value in community newspapers is just so high. And there's such a demand for it. And it's not necessarily, although the print edition is very valuable to many, we are in a digital world now, and people often will consume this news and see digital community news online. And that's a way that they rely on seeing that. And that's something that I think people really have to not take for granted in the communities where they have it.
So we have 3 platforms, and they all have different content. So print will be different from online, which will be different from the newsletter. So we may mix it up, we may release it at the same time, or they just may be exclusive to those platforms. But our breaking news in general, moving forward, will be online. Our more substantial features, beautiful photos, lots of content is print. So if you want to have a Sunday with your cup of coffee in your bed, you're picking up that print edition, because that's where the stories are. That's where we learn about your neighbors and what they're doing, as opposed to online. We've got cops and courts and breaking news about, unfortunately, school lockdowns in this area. That's where you're going to get the quick hits.
Yeah, it is the storytelling, I think, that really, people, what they're doing in their local communities, those stories are powerful. And to be able to read them, it's not often possible on just a digital platform or in short form. Sometimes it needs to be, that more feature lengthy, meatier piece. And those stories, to lose them is devastating, because they're just, they're inspirational. Sometimes they're pieces of advocacy that, identify an issue and a challenge or something the community has to come together on. So many elements to it. When I looked on the website, on the Freshet website, it described the publication a worker-owned co-op. We see ourselves as a disruptive force in the corporate media landscape, where local quality news has been all but abandoned.
Yeah.
Very powerful quote, very true. What do you feel are the most vital components of local, hyperlocal, so community news? And what do you feel about the state of journalism in British Columbia currently, outside of what you're doing?
Well, I have to tell you that what we're doing is not new, because there are collectives and organizations made up of journalists across America that are doing just what we're doing. They're being terminated from their jobs, and they're picking up the pieces that have been left behind by corporate media. We don't have shareholders. We have the community that keeps us accountable. And we want to make sure that they get what they need in terms of information, what's happening at the local level. I feel that this is a model, the nonprofit news co-op model, may be a good idea for other newsrooms that are being lost to do the same. They can follow suit. It is a lot of work um, being a founder. It's I'm not lying here. There's, when business people tell you how hard it is to be in business, it is. It's very difficult because you are never not thinking about it. It's always on your mind. And I think this is a model that journalists can do. I mean, we've had years of experience telling stories, making sure the community is aware of what's happening. And we want to make sure that this model continues because journalism is important.
Mhm. I'm going to pull up the website here quickly just so that I can. So, for those of you who have not heard, just to share the website link, it's freshetnews.ca. So, the word fresh, FRESH, freshetnews.ca. That's the website. The social media handles here we have Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, X, and LinkedIn. So social media, a part of this as well, as Janice just mentioned, also an e-newsletter. How often is your e-newsletter going out, Janice?
It comes out on Sundays. We've got about
Okay.
1,400 subscribers right now.
Okay.
Our numbers are going a lot. So, in only 3 months, we've done pretty good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. When you sat down thinking about the editorial, separate from the business piece, and after you had heard from the community, as you sat down as a team, there's a lot of news to choose from. And obviously you can't cover everything that is possible to cover, although you can do your best to, cover given the digital print and e-newsletter, cover the most that you can. But what did you and your colleagues determine were like really the kinds of stories and angles that you felt were really important to write about? I mean, what are those story pitches that would come in from someone like me or a community member that would really grab your attention, that are important stories for your team?
Essentially the same as what we did before. I mean, is it in the public interest? Does it matter? And who cares? Who benefits from the story?
Mm-hmm.
So we hold the same values that we did as we did in our last publications. When a story comes through, is it legitimate? I mean, who will read this story? And how do we tell it? But in terms of actually covering all the news, I mean, we are, of course, for reporters who are founders, publishers, I mean, it goes on and on. So we are stretched then. We can't cover everything. We just don't have time. We also get lots of invites as founders and as nonprofit leaders to come speak at other to clubs and organizations. So our time is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of journalism, we're on the same path as we did before. This time, we don't have the corporate owners telling us what to write. We are independent. We are impartial. We are not biased. And we're quite proud of the stories that we tell. And it's not just in words, it's photos as well.
Yes, the visual piece, obviously very important. Are you a photographer yourself? Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm a reporter that has a camera.
Right. So you're a photographer.
A reporter.
Right. It's for Freshet's future. You kind of alluded to this a little bit, talked about the potential in the future. And I know this is, you have a lot on your plate. So I know you never know kind of which direction you're going to go into, but you spoke about maybe having publication for each community if that becomes possible financially and logistically and all of those things. So that was my question is what do you see for Freshet's future? And how may it evolve in the future as a community publication? How would you like to see it evolve?
I mean, we have talked about this, and Freshet came about as a result of a swelling of the river, and specifically for us, the Fraser River. We would like to have communities all along the Fraser River join us, join our co-op. We want this to be continuing throughout British Columbia. Freshets happen everywhere. And we would like this to be a model for newsrooms moving forward, that they can be independent, they can be strong, They can have reporters that are out in the communities and telling stories that are important.
Inspirational for journalism students.
It is, yeah. We hope to also bring in emerging reporters and teach them our talents. I mean, we're multi-talented. We paginate, we write, we're leaders, we're forming new businesses, and it's a lot to take on, but we can do it. We know, you get a certain stage in your life where you think, you know what, I have no more fear. I'm going to do this. And we feel very much that we're Mavericks, and we are hoping to lead the charge on this.
Amazing. I saw the photo that was posted. I believe it was on your Instagram page with the first print edition. May have been the first or second print edition, the four of you with it. It was really cool to see the four of you presenting that and these accomplishments, and kind of seeing it all come to life must be incredibly fulfilling. For you, Janice, what is your personal daily mission as a journalist and editor covering local news? And also, what does this mean to you personally?
My mission is to be fair, accurate, and contemporaneous with my reporting. I want to make sure that I am truthful, and I want to make sure as many voices as I can be told in a story, because it's not just one person telling a story. I'm not talking about, press release rewrite. I'm talking about stories. That's my mission every day.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. I just think I know you say it's not new, but there's also, if you hadn't have done this, there would be likely four very large communities without local community news. And thank you for the work that you're doing and the hours that you're putting into producing this community news. I know you don't do it for the paycheck. You do it for the passion and for the love of journalism and value. So thank you, Janice.
To be clear, we're all volunteer.
So you are volunteering. It's important. I think there's people that don't completely understand how journalism works, the kind of the fake news terms and all of this type of thing. But you're presenting balanced news. You are owning a company. You are continuing what would have been the death of local community news in various communities as volunteers.
As volunteers, yeah. This is business being scaled up.
Right.
And I'm sure every business owner goes through the same thing, that it is a personal sacrifice as well until you're able to pay your employees.
Well, this is, I encourage everyone, whether or not you live in Burnaby, New West, or the Tri-Cities, Metro Vancouver is a closely connected community, to have a look at the freshetnews.ca website. They're also on all social media platforms. Thank you so much. I've had a great conversation today, and it's just really amazing to learn about how this all evolved. Janice Cleugh, veteran journalist, co-founder, editor, reporter, and I know that list is much more than that. Business owner, publisher, 10 other clicks in the boxes for Freshet News. They took the death of community news and they revived it. So amazing to have Janice Cleugh here today. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you bringing the attention to the communities. Be kind and truly connect. You are listening to Rachel Thexton Connects.